Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Untapped Podcast. My name is Jacob Gabel.
And my name is Jacob Wurtz, guys. Welcome to Season 3, Episode number 3.
Boom. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. Guys, if this is your first time joining us with the Untapped Podcast, welcome. Thank you for choosing us to listen to, guys. We have 5 main formats of our show. First, we have Forging Fortitude episodes, and this was actually our last full-length episode. In these episodes, we cover the mental side of things, okay? We talk a lot about our anecdotal experiences with mindset, mentality, building a better and stronger mindset, and things of that nature. Next, we have Physical Vitality episodes. Such a sick name.
Such a sweet name.
Yeah, I love how those flow. In these ones, we talk about the physical side of things, okay? You have 2 certified personal trainers here, and this is where we cover fitness, the gym, workouts, outdoor workouts, things of that nature, diet as well. So we really get to show off our expertise in those physical vitality episodes.
Yeah, those are a lot of fun. Guys, our next 3 episodes, our formats, so to speak, are our breaking news format, which is what we have for you today.
Mm-hmm.
You can probably guess what it is by the title, but pretty funny.
Drink Coors, baby.
Yeah, drink Coors. So, guys, our breaking news episodes are an ode to our EX current episodes from season 2.
Mm-hmm.
They are how history connects to the current day. They are current events, what's going on in the world. Our take and our opinions on things as well.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's bullshit, if we should freak out about it, or if we should just chill out about it, that type of thing.
Yep.
Our next format is our Knights Table episodes.
So cool.
That is also a very cool name.
Can't wait to start doing those episodes.
Yeah, you guys are going to love those. Again, that's an ode to our EX gentleman from season 2. That is where we really just talk about masculinity, how good of a thing it is, how it is not toxic, how you can become a better, stronger man, how you can become, who you were meant to be as a man and bring a lot of good to this world.
Right.
We have a lot of fun with those. Our final format is our guest, and that's pretty self-explanatory. We sit down with somebody that brings you a lot of value, an entrepreneur, fitness professional, whatever it is, and we have a lot of fun with them, have a good conversation. We bring you some good stuff. And our final little things to introduce is our producer,
What's
Mr.
up?
Gable.
You finally got to record here, huh?
I know, man. It took a while. We had just a pretty bad storm blow through here in St. Louis, and we actually did not have power for probably close to 2 hours, honestly.
At least,
yeah. So we had to go hit up our guy at Qdoba. We had to go hit up the spot.
For those of you that haven't listened to the first 2 episodes, I mean, this guy just fills our plate with
he takes
everything.
care of us,
yeah,
big time.
All types of pulled pork, steak, you name it, guys.
Some random guy. No, we can't disclose the
I don't
location.
even know his
though.
name.
Yeah.
I don't know his name either. Yeah. Wow, I feel bad now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can't disclose the location, like Mitchell said. It's
Yes.
a secret Qdoba location.
Yeah, very,
just
very
for
secret.
us. Yeah, just for us, guys.
But guys, we today, obviously, like you just said, we have a breaking news episode, our first one of season 3, and this is a pretty hot topic right now in the current events world. And we're going to talk about the situation surrounding Bud Light and Anheuser Busch. That not only because Anheuser Busch is a St. Louis company, it started here in St. Louis, and it's a big part of St. Louis too. The Cardinals, their stadium is called Busch Stadium. That comes from Anheuser Busch.
Yep.
So it's just it's a big deal to us here in St. Louis. We kind of live and breathe AB, and there's been a lot of national and worldwide attention on it here recently, and not really in a great way.
Not in the best way possible.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
Exactly. So for those of you that didn't hear, Bud Light kind of followed along with the woke culture that Nike has really been pushing. Sounds like Jack Daniels did something. We're not gonna. I don't know all the details of that one, so we're not gonna touch on that. I just know something happened. But they kind of followed in the woke footsteps that a lot of these bigger name companies are going to, and they partnered with Dylan Mulvaney. And Dylan Mulvaney was celebrating his name's Dylan.
I don't know.
365th day of being trans. And so Bud Light partnered with him and gave him a can with his face on it.
Sweet.
Yes. And now these cans were not available to the public to buy, but they had a whole marketing campaign for it. It was pushed out by a relatively new VP. I believe she was the VP of marketing for
She was
Bud
VP
Light.
of marketing, correct?
Yes.
Yep. She wasn't like the VP of the whole company.
Right.
I don't think that would have.
It would never would have happened.
Never would have happened. Yeah.
Right.
As we'll talk about.
And we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Yes. But they put out this social media marketing campaign, and it's just a little frustrating. It's a little frustrating.
Not to mention weird.
Very weird. Yes, there's this video that's probably, I don't know, like 45 seconds long of Dylan talking about Bud Light and March Madness and like kind of cracking open a Bud Light. It's just like, it's very, very weird.
Taking the smallest sip of a beer I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah. And then shows the can with his face on it. And it's a very creepy video. It's very, very creepy to like see him acting as a woman, dressed as a woman, talking like a woman. And just the whole situation is very, very creepy to watch in our eyes.
Do you want the soundbite?
Sure. Yeah, we can insert it. Yeah.
Let me hear. Should be able to hear it here.
Carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness,
And this
I
is
thought
from
we were
a
all
New
just
York
having a
Post article,
hectic
by the way,
month,
guys.
but
Correct.
it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport, but either way, it's a cause to celebrate.
Yeah, there's the small.
This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram story to see how you can enjoy March Madness with Bud Light and maybe win some money too. Love ya! Cheers!
Yeah. And
Go team!
It's
Whatever
just,
team
it's so,
you
it's
love.
just very,
I love
very
too.
odd to watch.
Okay.
It
Because
feels very inorganic.
inorganic, and you can
Yeah.
also tell this is someone that does not drink Bud Light.
No.
Like for sure.
No,
Like
come
let's
on.
be honest, Bud Light is a party beer.
Yep.
It's a beer of
Midwest.
of Midwest. You know.
Yep. Blue collar. Yep.
redneck type people. You know, that's
College dudes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
Come on.
exactly.
It's not like elite class.
Exactly, and
whatever,
that's
yeah.
exactly how this setting. They're trying to make it look like that.
Yeah.
And it would also just be weird if Bud Light tried to release a marketing campaign of it being like a high class beer. Like I don't know. In my eyes, beer is not like high class.
Well,
Like,
and
it's
the
just-
thing, the thing is too, is like beer has been successful in general off of the fact that it comes with like the regular American, like
Yeah,
that, like,
exactly.
that's what the regular American drinks because
Right.
because people in Hollywood or sitting in their white suits and tuxes or whatever, they're not the ones who drink. Yeah.
Wait. Do not be hating on white suits.
Well, I'm not.
White suits
I'm-
are
Hey,
fantastic.
I'm not hating on white suits. I'm saying they're
That's
really
racist.
nice. Yeah.
I wore one time for Easter when I was younger.
What's wrong with black
and
suits? Where it's
I looked like a freaking baller. Hey, I love wearing suits.
True,
I don't
true.
care what they look
Yeah.
like, but white suits, oh man.
But
Clean-
yeah,
clean look.
the point stands. It's like it's for it's not for people who are sipping their rosé or whatever in the world. Like,
Well, that's
kind
just
of-
not how
yeah.
you market it. It's not that it's
No.
not for those people, but that's just not like that's not going to cause people to want to buy it
Yep.
when it's a product like Bud Light.
Yeah.
There's nothing against Bud Light. Like it's a fine beer. You should probably drink Busch Light instead.
yeah,
It's just the
roll
as,
Busch Light.
as Mitchell says, it's the nectar of the gods.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
But
Coors Light is good.
Coors Light is good, yes.
There's
And-
a reason we're saying drink
Little
Coors.
spotted cow, little upper Midwest too.
right,
Shout out
right.
Wisconsin.
Miller's not horrible, but we can't be supporting Milwaukee where the Brewers are at. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's obvious.
I've had Miller one time, and I thought I literally drank like the worst thing I've ever had in my entire life. I was like,
it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Come on,
all
come
right,
on.
maybe I'm just a little bit harsh on it. Okay.
Anyway, this video is very, very creepy to watch. Hopefully the soundbite worked there so you guys can kind of hear it. I do encourage you to go watch it if you haven't seen it. But what's also odd about this whole situation is this VP for Bud Light came out and said, for too long Bud Light has been pushed as a fratty beer and it's out of touch with new societal norms, or however she worded it.
Mhm.
Mitchell, maybe you have the exact quote, but it's just like you clearly don't know the demographic
Nope.
of your consumers.
So here's one from an interview. Her name is Alyssa Heinerschneid.
What a name.
She did an interview with the podcast Make Yourself at Home on March 30th, where she's discussed her work in transforming the Bud Light brand. So again, this is from the New York Post. The quote goes, "I'm a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light, and it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in a decline for a really long time, and if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light."
Go to any college campus.
I-
There
that-
are Bud Light cans everywhere.
I was lost by the it's in decline.
yeah,
'Cause-
in decline where?
Because what is it out of like the top 5 beers in the entire world? It's like Bud Light's number 4.
I think it's number
or something
4.
ridiculous like that.
Yeah, and it's just
Well,
like it makes no sense. Go to any sporting event. There's Bud Light everywhere. There's Bud Light ads everywhere. There's Bud Light commercials
It's
everywhere.
at First Form Summer Smash.
Exactly.
I mean, it's everywhere.
It's literally everywhere. It's probably the most like, hey, dude, you want to go get a beer? Bud Light is going to be there.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I've never seen a bar that doesn't have Bud Light.
The only one that like even might compete in my head is like Mick Ultra.
Maybe, but even some places don't carry that because it's more expensive.
And yeah, because it's a lighter beer. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Sure.
And
yeah.
it's considered a premium beer. This is just coming like at the movie theater that I worked at, like it was more expensive. Mick Ultra was more expensive.
Yep.
It was more expensive to buy. It was more expensive to purchase as a customer. So a lot of places don't carry it because of that reason. And it's so like I heard that quote and I read that and I was just like, what the hell are you talking about? In decline.
It also comes off as very arrogant on her part because like she's like, I had a clear job to do.
Yeah, when I took over
It's like
Bud Light.
It's like, no, you just had to market beer.
No, you were just itching to push your woke agenda.
Yes.
Like is what you were trying to do.
Yep.
And you thought you had this clear purpose to push all this stuff. And it's like you chose the wrong area to do that in.
Well, and here's my issue with the far left woke stuff in general. And what bothers me is that I don't think they understand that there wouldn't be this much outrage and backlash to the stuff they do if they didn't try to force it in our face every single time.
Right.
Like if you guys just did your own thing, we have a constitution for a reason.
Exactly.
Go do your thing.
Right.
We don't need to have a dude who poses as a 6-year-old and dresses up as a woman and whatever marketing your stuff. Like that's not something that needs to happen.
Right.
Because we're not like if we see like Dylan on the streets, like, yeah, it's like, okay, it's kind of odd, but then we'll just keep on with our day.
Keep going. Yeah.
But if you're shoving it in our face by having a marketing campaign
literally
for it,
and figuratively.
I mean, yeah, that's another thing we'll even get into
Hey,
too.
yo.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, dude, some of these drag shows, like you see a small child like in the center of a giant circle and like they're just getting danced on by these drag queens and stuff.
Yep.
And meanwhile, this is probably what pisses me off the most about these videos because there's been several that have come out in states like Texas and stuff too, where you see in the background all the dads like watching.
Ooh.
And it's like, you're just going to let this happen to your kid? Like what? You have nothing to say about this? You have nothing.
That's
There's no instinct in you that's like, this is weird. Or like, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't bring my kid here. None?
That's the definition of the low T, the low testosterone
That's what
epidemic
I'm
we
saying,
have in our
dude.
country.
Yeah.
Because instead of them stepping up and having a boundary with their wife or in their family, they allow this to happen.
Or with society.
Or
it's
with
not even with their
society in
wife
general.
and family. It's just
Yeah.
with like,
I
hey, I'm
mean-
not going to let a guy posing as a girl shove his dick in my kid's face.
Yep.
Like, no. Like, how about you just stand up and say no and get the hell out of there?
Yep.
It makes me so mad.
Yep.
It makes me so mad.
The overarching point too is like it is abnormal for a guy to try to be a girl, and it is abnormal for a girl to try to be a guy.
Yeah.
Because there are two separate genders, and there have been for the thousands of years that our world has been around, and that is normal. And and until about 10 to 15 years ago, it was considered a mental illness if somebody went and did what Dylan is doing. Or like Jeffrey Marsh is another influencer I see all the time that is like an old man trying to pose as a woman in some, or like poses more feminine. I don't know what he's doing.
I don't know. I've never even heard of that.
You look him up, I don't think you want to see it. You probably don't even want to look that up. But it's interesting because that was considered a mental illness till about 10 to 15 years ago. It was a diagnosed mental illness, and we truthfully should have been getting people like that help.
Yeah.
And we still should be getting people like that help instead of encouraging the delusion that is thinking you're the opposite gender.
That you were born in the wrong body
That's
or
not,
whatever. So what does it even mean?
First of all, it's extremely disrespectful to like your creator. But like at the Christian viewpoint of things, like that alone is so disrespectful that you think that you're just put in this wrong, incorrect body.
Right.
Which of course they don't care about the Christian viewpoint because that's not what they believe in.
Sure.
But on the other end of things, it's just like that is just not possible. That is not a humanly in any way capable. Like humans aren't capable of becoming another gender.
Right.
No matter how many hormones or how much you inject in somebody. A good example of this, guys. So there's actually a research study done. This will relate. It's with steroids. So it is shown that men who take performance enhancing steroids, testosterone, trenbolone acetate, that type of thing. If they take that type of stuff and then they get off it after however many, a year or two of use, 3 years, however long, they still have elevated blood levels of testosterone throughout the rest of their life. Now, the same goes for a guy then becoming a girl. No matter how much estrogen, how many hormones you inject into that now, again, in quotations, girl,
Mhm.
they still have elevated testosterone levels. So they are still a man. Their
Yeah.
hormones and their chromosomes do not change magically to a girl's. That's not
Right.
possible.
Right.
So that's why sports relate to this as well with transgenders and why
Well, right,
men can't
dude.
compete against women. That's not a thing.
Right.
So you are literally like your hardcore efforts of becoming a girl or becoming a guy if you're a girl literally are not possible.
Mhm.
Just as if you're a girl trying to transition to a guy, it's the same thing. You cannot have the same testosterone levels or same physical strength, same biological qualities as a man has.
Mhm.
Just like the opposite way.
Right.
It's not possible.
Right.
It's delusion is what it is.
It is.
And we encourage it.
I know. And it's celebrated, it's encouraged. And I also think that some of this is blown out of proportion ways because I think that
purposely, yeah.
social media and I think the mass media purposely try to make it seem more prevalent than what it actually is.
Mhm.
Because like how often do you actually encounter someone who identifies as something else?
Granted, we are in Missouri. But
of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I think there's been one in my life. One, truthfully. And even the same with people who are gay. Like you don't encounter a ton of them, you know? And for the most part, the ones that you might are pretty normal people. Like seriously, like normal guys, normal girls.
Yep.
And they're not trying to push it in your face. They're not trying to be like, hey, I'm gay, so like you need to treat me this way. Like I found out someone at my gym was gay or is gay, and I've known him for well over a year. I had no idea. And he told me that, and I was like, okay. I was like, I don't see any different. Like you're still, you know, who you are to me. I'm still going to say hi. Like we're still going to be like, I don't think of you any differently because you're not trying to push your viewpoints on me. You're not trying to make me think a different way than what I think.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's great. Like you do you. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that doesn't mean I don't like you. That doesn't mean I hate you.
Nope.
You know? But when these things are forced upon us through social media, through mass media, through marketing campaigns like this, like that pisses me off. You know? And obviously I'm not alone in this, but this also just goes back, and I sort of mentioned this earlier, but something like Bud Light, like what are you doing? What are you doing? Because their demographic is primarily that frat culture, okay? Which typically frat culture is going to be more, you know, right-leaning on certain things and more party-type atmosphere. There's probably a better word to explain that, but, you know, they don't want to have this stuff forced on them. You know, they just want to drink Bud Light and get drunk and have fun.
Yep. Drink Bud Light, have a good time with their boys.
Yeah,
whatever. Like have a good time with their friends. Yeah.
And it's going to be primarily Midwest people who are again, more blue-collar, right-leaning type people. Not all. Not everyone that drinks Bud Light is right-leaning, but I'm just saying their primary demographic is going to fall into those categories.
Which, from what I understand with marketing and with business, is like your number one thing. If you have a certain demographic, you don't just market away from it.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any business sense whatsoever.
Right. And we've seen this happen with Bud Light. In what, the couple weeks now that this has happened, they've lost like $6 billion.
$6 billion in market share, I believe.
Exactly.
Yep.
And
Was
that's an insane amount of money.
Yep. Now, granted, it's early. It's in the first week or two. Like I think DJ actually caveated this on Real AF, but like it is in the first week or two of the market share. But the early on market share is that within the first week or two of this coming out with Dylan was that it went down about $6 billion, like you said.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is how this will continue, because another thing that came up with a New York Post article, I believe, was that distributors were extremely nervous about how this is going to turn out.
Well, yeah.
Because they were like, what the hell? Like, I mean, because now all of a sudden there was like less interest in Bud Light right off the original outrage of this and whatnot.
Just off the rip there, yeah.
So the problem is then who does that affect? It
Everybody
affects those
else down the
distributors.
line.
It
Yep.
affects those blue collar or those, you know, hardworking Americans and whatnot who are connected to Bud Light in some way, who are connected to the alcohol industry in some way,
Right.
who need the revenue from AB
Right.
because it's a massive company
Yeah.
to, you know, push their sales.
And support these families and whatnot too.
Exactly.
You know, and most of those people also aren't going to be for this trans agendas being pushed and the other agendas being pushed. Like when I'll reference the movie theater. We had, so the distributor that we got our alcohol from was called Gray Eagle, which I think is a countrywide distributor company.
Yep. See it a lot in here in Missouri.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a distributorship plant or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Not far from here. And that's where our deliveries would come from. And we would have the same 1, 2, sometimes a third guy would be our delivery guy. But like I got to know them because every single week they would be come in and deliver our AB products. And these guys were normal guys just like me. and you can just tell through conversations and things you agree on, things you get fired up about, they're going to have the same ideologies on certain things that like what we do.
Yep.
And so that's the point here is those people who not only do they not mess with this stuff, but it has nothing to do with them are now being affected because maybe they have less deliveries, which means less money on the paycheck, stuff like that, that it trickles all the way down. People that own bars, maybe less people are coming in, maybe less people are buying a certain product, so they're struggling or something like that.
Their most commonly bought product in Bud Light is now not being bought as commonly.
Exactly.
Which, maybe it increases sales for like Coors or other beers and whatnot. But
I'm sure it will immediately.
But I mean, again, who knows?
Right.
It develops a lot of uncertainty. And the thing is, and what this woke agenda does not consider, and especially this VP of marketing for Bud Light, she doesn't consider how our actions affect other people. Because the biggest thing when it comes down to is how these families are able to put food on their table for their, and if Gray Eagle and other distributors, that's how they put food on their table, and other, bars, that's how they put food on their table for their families. That is the number one concern.
Yeah.
Your woke agenda is not the number one concern.
And like the people that actually make the beer.
Yeah.
Like who actually work at the breweries.
Just like we wouldn't push an agenda just to like have like our Untapped shirts be pushed a certain way or whatnot.
Yeah, right.
Because then it can end up affecting somebody else. And again, we're like smaller.
Sure.
But like the point stands. You wouldn't just because of the fact that your emotions push you to push a certain agenda, you wouldn't do that just because you think you need to out of your emotional, your bleeding heart or whatever you think you have, or in what good, good eyes you have for this or good thoughts you have for this. No. Your job is to make sales for this beer. Your job is not just to believe in this Dylan Mulvaney or whatever.
Right.
To think that it's important to push Dylan Mulvaney.
Right. Or make everyone else believe in it is really it.
Yep.
And I don't know, something like Bud Light, it kind of markets itself. Like it's just beer.
At this point in time, AB's so big it literally just markets itself.
Exactly.
It's like you go up to what's it called? We go up to the bar or something like that, downtown St. Louis, let's say. Can we grab a Bud Select, Bud Light, something like that?
Yeah, right.
Bring some out for us. First thought that comes to our head.
Exactly.
For us, a lot of times it's Busch Light, of course.
But still,
it's AB.
Right.
The idea stands.
Exactly.
Like it's AB. Like that's can I grab Busch Light? Cool.
Right.
Thank you.
And it's just like
it's simple.
Exactly. And it
markets itself, like you just said.
It doesn't need, even like if I see Bud Light commercials or AB commercials on TV or during the Super Bowl, during Cardinals game, whatever, doesn't make me want to go buy Bud Light any more or less.
Yeah.
If I want Bud Light, I'm just gonna go get Bud Light. Like it's all good. You don't have to try and sell it to me. And I'm not some diehard Bud Light drinker. I will drink it, but it's like, why is this the direction we go?
Do you remember that Bud Night commercial that they ran a while ago, years ago? It was a big.
Oh yes.
Mitchell's laughing, but like
actually,
it was just, like, think about that. That's a good example.
Yeah.
It was just funny. It was like all this guy literally like wearing Bud Light cases
as armor.
As armor, came out like but it didn't appeal to either political side of the spectrum.
It was just fun.
There was no agenda. It was just funny.
Right.
And that right there puts Bud Light in your face. That's good marketing.
Right.
That's all it takes. It doesn't take you putting a guy who thinks he's a girl.
Right. Because then you would go into grocery stores or gas stations to go buy Bud Light, and you would see these huge cutouts of Bud Night.
Yep.
And it's hilarious. It's funny. You're exactly right. That's a great comparison between two marketing campaigns from the same company.
And that is funny to everybody, whether you're left or right.
Right.
Bud Night is funny.
It was just goofy.
Right. It is goofy.
It rhymed with the
wild.
name. Yeah, exactly, dude.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the same thing as like, that's why, content you and I do, like sometimes we're like goofy in it.
Sure.
Because like
we need to do more of it.
Well, 100%. And we will be bringing more of it.
Obviously hilarious.
Well, yeah, obviously. 100%.
Mitch is just like, man, these guys suck.
Yeah, these guys, wow, I don't know why I produced for this podcast. But I mean, that's the thing is like, it's not like we have a woke agenda when we put out.
No, absolutely not.
Like, and that's how they think. That's how this VP of marketing thinks, is like every bit of content she puts out or every bit of marketing she puts out has to cater to this woke agenda. It's like, that's not the case.
I have to get everyone to believe in this. Exactly.
And again, so this leads us into why. So we talk a little bit about, the WEF or World Economic Forum sometimes. And like, that's a pretty common, woke group, whatever you want to call them.
Evil group.
Evil world taking over group. Yeah. So we talk about the world.
Say evil world takeover group.
That's all I got for him. That's like my best description I got for him.
We skipped language arts class.
Yeah. I did hate that class, but I mean, guys, the honest truth is like, so you have World Economic Forum, And it's shown a lot of the times the World Economic Forum has connections to the companies like Nike, has connections to companies like AB, and they're very, very attached to these larger companies. Coca-Cola is another one.
Yeah.
That like critical race theory was pushed down for them.
Yeah.
But the thing is about that, so you start seeing that they're connected to the World Economic Forum, these big companies. And all of a sudden, what's weird is that the Dylan Mulvaney campaign also came out for Nike at the same time, this same week.
Same week.
And then, what was it? Jack Daniels, again, we got to figure out what that situation was. I don't really know what it was, but I'm pretty sure they also had like a transgender marketing campaign in the same week.
Yeah.
So let's say these 3 large American brand companies, I mean, Nike you think of as an American company, AB definitely an American company.
For sure.
Jack Daniels 100% an American company.
Yeah.
All in the same week. And it's pushed by like this VP of marketing who doesn't really seem to represent the rest of Bud Light and AB.
Definitely not.
And it seems really questionable because, last 3 years with COVID, it attacked the middle class.
Right.
And more people in the middle class went into poverty.
Right.
And more people, I think the number of people that went into poverty around the world increased exponentially during COVID.
Yeah.
So you start seeing this go around, and it's kind of interesting because the biggest companies continue to get rich during this time.
Right.
The big box stores with COVID stayed open.
Yeah.
Fairly certain it was the biggest wealth transfer in history.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
Amazon was still delivering.
They got really rich during this time because everybody was ordering online.
Right.
So you start seeing these agendas line up at the same time at the same places, and you're like, okay, this isn't affecting the woke people.
Right.
This is ended up affecting the middle class and the regular Americans. Something's going on here. Should we cancel these people?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if we should.
We need to cancel the woke agendas.
That's exactly what we need to do.
100%. But because of all the things we named earlier with a company like AB or Bud Light, you can't cancel that because of the effect it would have, the trickle-down effect that it would have.
Exactly.
Just like this decision by them does and did. But if we completely root out Bud Light and AB, that trickle-down effect is massive, because the majority of people that are working for Anheuser Busch, working for the Bud Light side of things, are going to be middle-class people.
It's regular Americans. Again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the upper executives, like those are going to be upper-class people.
Yeah.
And it actually came out that the actual executives of Anheuser Busch, either for the whole company or on the Bud Light side of things,
I
really
believe
matter.
it was the whole of AB.
But like the actual big dogs had no idea that this campaign was going to happen. Had no idea. And that makes sense. It makes sense because this company is not like that.
Yep.
They're not known to be, doing this type of stuff, doing these type of marketing campaigns, pushing this kind of stuff. Like, no, they are just, red, white, and blue. Like we say Merry Christmas, like all that kind of stuff, and then this happens and it's just like, what is going on here? And that's what we have to cancel is like, why is someone like this even being brought into a company like this?
Yeah.
Like who made that decision? Because
I think their quotas made that decision.
It could be. Yeah.
Hey,
that's another thing.
We haven't really hired a person with pronouns in their bio in a while.
Yeah.
Mitchell's laughing over there too. Like, we haven't hired a person with pronouns in their bio in a while. The World Economic Forum, Klaus, he's not very happy right now.
Right.
We need to be more woke.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they let her in, they give her free reign, and then all of a sudden they're like, holy shit, we just lost $6 billion in market share.
Oops.
Wow, we butchered this. That's where it comes into. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, but you can't really cut those senior execs a lot of slack there because if they lost that much in market share already, you'd expect this VP to be gone already.
Right.
Why has she not been fired?
Exactly.
Those senior execs, they may not have been aware of it, but
action has to be taken.
At a C-suite level, you define the path of the company.
100%.
So a lot of the times, especially in a big company like this, you'll see the middle management, the internal employees with them. They will, those wokies in middle management will control upper level management. They're basically holding upper management hostage because you don't want to say, you don't want to call a lady a guy or a guy a lady or whatever it is.
Right.
And you see that really commonly with fairly decent sized companies like that.
Right.
And again, like, why hasn't she been fired?
Yeah, exactly.
But the question
I
remains.
think they said
like,
they were going to launch an investigation. It's like, well, it happened.
you know what happened. She
Yeah,
went on the
right.
podcast and talked about it. You know what I
Right,
mean? She's
right.
letting everybody know her whole plan.
Right.
So it's like, again, did you get forced to make this hiring decision?
Right.
You as execs, like you don't want her in there.
Mhm.
Why are you hiring her?
Right.
Who's telling you that you have to hire people like this?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like who's pushing you to do this?
Right.
And so here's where this also stems to as well. What scares me. So you were talking about how, you don't really see a lot of transgender or, even a lot of like lesbian or gay people. A lot of times that's not a very common thing. That's like not a very common portion of society, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what's scary, actually? There was a recent graph that came out where basically every 10 years, the number, especially so in the last, I believe, since Gen Z's been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Gen Z started when we were like what? Gen Z was like 1997 to 2004, I believe is the correct number, which is our generation.
Oh no, it's much longer than 2004. But yeah, it's pretty much everyone. I think it was after 2010. I think Gen Alpha's after us, but we're all in Gen Z.
Anyways, Gen Z. That you see really quick. This graph showed, and this goes for other generations as well, but mainly Gen Z. The number of LGBT plus whatever you want to call it, plus alphabet this, add Apache attack helicopter into, then you see this group though, the numbers has been skyrocketing in the past 10 to 15 years. So it used to be that, again, like I think it was like 4% or less of the population before about 2005, 2010 or so was either transgender, lesbian, gay, whatever, bisexual. Like that was about like 4% or less of the population. So, and that was just like kind of a just normal part of the population, like especially lesbian, gay, and bisexual. But in the past 10 to 15 years, that number has exponentially increased, especially for Gen Z. It was like the number for like Gen Z is climbing close to 15% or something like that. Identify as some kind of LGBT, identification or whatever. So it's interesting you see that, and these numbers go up and up and up. And their logic behind that is that they say that these people couldn't come out for years before that. Like that society wouldn't have accepted them or whatever they said and whatnot. But the thing is, you see these marketing campaigns and it's shoved down your throat again over and over again. These drag shows in front of 5-year-old to 10-year-old to 15-year-old kids and whatnot. At libraries, they're telling stories with their legs wide open and whatnot. And
it's enabling it.
It's enabling it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like you start seeing rainbow flags in your school and whatnot. That happened with me in college. There was literally a separate like room that was like horrifying. It was like this pink, rainbow, red, this and that color. And it was all in one room just to enable it. And then you started seeing posters of it all around campus and whatnot. And this is all college campuses. I went the first 2 years of my college, I went to a pretty like what would be considered more agricultural
Big Ten school.
It was more like good old boy school more than anything else. Like a lot of engineers, that type of stuff. But you still saw a heavy amount of these posters, a heavy amount of social indoctrination. Same thing in the schools. I mean, the high school we went to just had litter boxes in the bathrooms. You heard about that.
Right.
Oh yeah, you know all about that. There was litter boxes for people that identified as cats in the bathroom.
Right.
So you cannot tell me this is not a social contagion. And this is not being pushed in every way. You see it on TV all the time. You see it in Disney. You see it on every kid's show. You see it, et cetera, et cetera. So our generation and younger is really being affected by it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's all they see. And they assume, oh, this is like normal.
Right.
For me to try to be a girl when I'm a guy.
Right.
Or to try to be a guy when I'm a girl.
Right.
When it's not.
Right.
That is not a normal mental headspace to be in. That is not, even possible chromosomally or biologically at all.
Right.
And so these numbers start going up. And again, I think we really don't see it is because we're in Missouri. Like a lot of times it's just not very common, but you go to places like LA and New York and whatnot. And then you go to all these, Austin, Texas or Dallas, Texas, and these drag shows are going on. So it's a thing. And there was a drag show literally 20 minutes down the road from our place now.
Right. Right.
At a large venue in a big city near us. There was a big drag show there.
Yeah, there was.
So it's growing.
Right.
And it's not because more people feel comfortable to come out of the closet now or something like that. That's not the reason.
It's just all started with the slippery slope. When, gay marriage was made legal and okay, we have freedoms in this country.
Free country.
Exactly. Again, I disagree, but as long as you're not all up in my face about it. Like, I don't really care. Like, you do you, man. Like, whatever. But then it's led all the way down to these drag shows and to marketing campaigns like this on a beer. Again, we're talking about beer here. Talking about beer.
That's pretty big point to point out. It's beer.
Right. Like, why are we messing with beer?
About as American and like easy to sell as
That's
you
what
get.
I'm saying. Again, this is something that sells itself. We don't have to do these crazy marketing campaigns for it, but it's all been a trickle-down effect of this slope. Starting at something just, seen as smaller, as a big win for that community, whatever, all the way to where we are now. And like this next generation that's coming up, like, again, they see it as normal. And like this woman, this VP, thinks it's normal and thinks that everyone should believe in this and everyone, like, this should be pushed more and more. And like big brands like Nike, who have a huge worldwide touch, possibly the most worldwide company, like, at least as far as athletic equipment.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Sportswear. And shoes and all that stuff. Like, it's probably my guess would be the biggest worldwide company.
I would say
in
so.
that sense.
Yep.
They think, well, like, we control this, we have this amount of money, we control this amount of, people, or we have this much power, so we're going to force our ideas on it. And it's just like, that is so wrong. But it's also, these companies are smart in a way because it's so hard not to support them in any way. I mean, look, I have Nike socks on right now. You have Nike socks on right now.
Bauer, Nike, yeah.
There's plenty of Nike shoes sitting out there.
I have Lululemon shorts on right now.
There you go.
They're big transgender people.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Right. And fat models
fat
too.
models too,
yeah.
Which makes a ton of sense for exercise clothing, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Even though their original creator was like, no, I'm not making clothes for that type of person. But then, like you just said, the C-suite people are actually controlling the company, and they forced that guy out of Lulu, And that's why, like, honestly, as much as we talk about them, brands like First Form are so easy to support because they don't do that shit.
They don't shove anything down your throat.
No.
All
they do
we know
is
where
just
Andy
try
stands.
to help you better your life.
Yep. We know where Andy stands on things, but
Exactly.
but it's not like First Form's on their site like go woke,
You must drink protein powder. Like, no.
The executive leadership team defines where that line is, if that makes sense in that company. It defines those core values. We see it in my company. And the bigger you get, the harder it is to kind of define that culture. And if you don't step up and make a strong stand against it, I mean, you'll have middle management holding your guys
doing
hostage,
like
and then you have an older, whoever it is, an older individual who's a C-suite, 60 years old, and then they have a 30-year-old VP with he, sure, she, they, them, z's, a, whatever it is in their bio, and they don't know how to approach them,
right?
And they're kind of held hostage because
you don't hire those people, but
exactly, but then there's so much of a distance between that C-suite and that, in that employee, whoever engaged with Mr. Dylan Mulvaney, in the original. I mean, you have to define those.
Right.
There's no other way. And that, the whole point, I guess, what we're getting at is this just doesn't surround Bud Light. It surrounds the entire cultural transition of there's no line in the sand.
Right.
I mean, if we're not taking a stand for something, we're taking a stand for nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what Mitch and I were talking about. Christianity is at that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity hasn't drawn a line in the sand on anything
really
in the past,
right.
literally 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
And I mean, for a good while, Christianity defined a lot of cultural and social norms.
For sure.
That's where like the idea of marriage came from.
Yeah.
That's where the idea of being a good person came from.
Mm-hmm.
Christian and Judeo values are where a good society is built around.
Yeah.
Where a, logical, loving, have good conversations type of society is built around. It's built around those values. And we have had those tossed out the window for about 20 years or so now, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Give or take that number, right around. And I think Mitchell's right, because we don't draw a line in the sand on this stuff. It just keeps spiraling to the point where, because Dylan literally had, I don't know if you saw this, but Dylan Mulvaney literally had a campaign where he was dressed up and he was imitating a 6-year-old girl.
I did not see this.
This is a man. This is a man.
Was this the Nike commercial?
No. This was his own thing on his own social media.
Gotcha.
Imitating a 6-year-old girl, which again leads us to the pedophilia conversation.
Oh, yeah.
it leads us directly to that. A man imitating and trying to act like a 6-year-old girl, because then all of a sudden you can identify as a 6-year-old now because that slippery slope keeps going down. We're at a 90-degree angle going down the hill at this point in time. The boulder has caught so much speed, it's running over everything.
Right.
And that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Because the minute you allow, because again, I mean, we literally never had sexuality pushed on us in school.
No.
It was, I remember the only thing we had a sex ed class like 1 or 2 times.
As part of a health class.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Right. That was it.
We didn't have drag story hours.
No.
We didn't have literal dudes shaking their ass in front of us as 12-year-olds.
Right.
That did not happen.
No, not at all.
That is however you put it, that is the normalization of pedophilia. That is where this slope is leading us, because they think everything is okay at this point in time. All of a sudden, these 45-year-old men are now going to be able to identify as 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
And now, can they date 6-year-olds?
Right.
First of all, fuck no.
Yeah.
No, they can't.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Right.
That's chipper.
Yeah.
Start up the chipper at that point in time.
Right.
But that's where we get led.
Right.
And then there's the other conversation here, and we'll transition a little bit here. There's also the idea that, is there bigger issues going on here? We're focused on this transgender thing, Bud Light, whatever. It takes our eyeballs off this. Meanwhile, the U.S. is almost at war with Russia and China.
Over the oil stuff that we were talking about? Yeah. And how the dollar is very quickly losing its value.
U.S. dollar is going down like this.
The Chinese yen has taken over in Russia for oil.
So
yeah,
we talk about distractions here.
Right. Right.
Because we didn't draw a line in the sand, and then we get distracted and focus on this stuff. We get outraged about it, and then we do nothing about it.
Right.
Because if we just held the line in the sand and then focused on the big stuff, like the Ukraine shit or whatever,
right,
and cultivating a diplomatic relationship with Russia and China, because I don't think anybody wants war with those two countries.
No, of course not.
It'd
be catastrophic for the entire world,
especially if they're united. That's the scary thing.
We're done. We're done if it goes down like that.
I don't care how good our Navy is, because have you seen our military now?
Look at the guy that represents the military that's in the White House.
Yes, what is he, Secretary of Defense, or is it
whatever,
he or she
whatever,
or whatever?
Yeah, is a transgender person.
Yep,
representing the U.S. military. Excuse me?
Is that what we're worried about?
Excuse me? Huh? What?
I think the military is just kicking ass and taking names.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Not that you can't find out if you're a guy or a girl.
Right. Or if you don't take this vaccine, like, you're gone. Like, what? What are we talking about? Our first guest that we're going to have on in a few weeks, like, he can talk all about that. Yeah.
He'll give you guys some great insight on that stuff.
Absolutely. And it's very disappointing to see the direction of the military. And again, he can go into more detail on that, so maybe we leave that for them.
Yeah, sure.
But yes, that is very disappointing. And again, people don't realize what's going on. The handshake deals that are being done between China and Russia, and what that could mean for the U.S.
Again, that's where my issue lies, because we talk about Bud Light and it distracts us from the actual thing that's going on.
Right.
That the U.S. literally could be falling out of the world power conversation.
Right.
Which will lead to nothing good. Whatever, if you're far left, far right, transgender, blue, white, doesn't matter. Whatever race, doesn't matter.
Right.
If we start falling and our freedoms start falling, we're going to have different issues on our hands. And instead, we worry about whether or not a marketing campaign should be woke or not.
For sure. Without a doubt. And all it starts with is just uniting and saying no.
Yep.
And denying the stuff and paying attention to the real things that matter.
Especially like Wurtz pointed out, guys, especially like you said about men becoming men again. What you said about those dads at drag shows.
Absolutely.
Sitting there watching. That's exactly why we're doing the men's night stuff.
You wouldn't catch either one of our dads just chilling watching that.
Oh, no.
Absolutely not.
The scary thing is my mom would have been at that for
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Both of our moms would have been cutting down forest for that. It would have been bad.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy because, again, like you said, it's apathy. It's just sitting back and just letting things happen, not drawing that line in the sand, like Mitch said.
Not being the first.
100%. Not being the first to say no.
We're putting our ideas and opinions out there for you guys. We're putting it all over social media, all over Spotify, Apple. Like, we're putting it out there. Guys, we're doing it. Follow us.
Yep.
Follow us. Join us. You know it's the right thing to do. You know it is. Like, I'm looking at you. I know you know it is. That's where it starts.
Yep.
100%. Guys, at the end of all of our episodes, we have Mitch, our wonderful third voice, ask us a Q&A question that is submitted by you guys, the listeners or the viewers. By the way, you can submit those to extricationfitness@gmail.com. There's also an email button on our Instagram, which
Super
is
nice.
at untapped.llp. It's in both of our bios on Instagram, but you can also send them in that way. You can DM them to us, and we send all the questions over to Mitch. We really do not look at them. He gets all of them. He's got a whole stack of them, and then he goes through and he picks one, and then he asks us. So,
Yeah.
Mitch, go ahead if
That
you're
was
ready.
a great transition. I
It
love
was
it.
beautiful. Yeah.
I'll draw my line in the sand here before we ask the question.
Sure.
Transgenderism is a mental illness. Gender dysphoria. That's what it is called. There's no other way around it.
Yeah.
Period. The end.
Yeah.
No excuses.
There's no
there.
other conversation. Yeah.
Right.
That's it right there.
So that transitions into our question nicely. What are ways to make great decisions quickly?
What are ways to make great decisions quickly?
I think I have a solid answer for this
Yeah,
one.
go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I think you have to put yourself in situations in practice, similar to sports in this way, that train you to make good decisions quickly. I think if you've never seen a situation before, you're caught in a firefight, for example. Out.
Well, okay, we've never been in a firefight.
Of course.
Let's use it.
Yeah. Let's use a personal one. You're right. My bad. Let's say, I step on the ice for the first time, and I'm like, somebody's coming at me full bore. I have to figure out a way to defend them. That first time, it's not going to go well.
You don't and you don't have an option. You got to make a decision.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's the thing is like the way you do that is I practice for it.
Yeah.
I practiced my whole life for it for 20 years. I mean, 6-year-old me, I can tell you that right now, just got walked around. Everybody that came at me on the ice, I got walked
It would
around.
look like me out there on the ice if we were all skating.
Hey, I'm telling you, Wurtz has potential on the ice, guys. That's another conversation. But I mean,
You've never even seen me skate.
I just have a feeling. I don't know. Just a feeling. But I mean, guys, like that's what it comes down to. I think you have to train for situations. I think that's why it's important to train with firearms. Because if you've never handled a firearm and you're like,
There you
somebody's
go.
broken into my house and I have to pick up a firearm and shoot them, you're gonna put one through the ceiling.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna take all your TVs and everything. You're gonna be
Right.
robbed. You're gonna be done for.
While you're sitting there trying to load your gun.
Hey,
Hey,
how'd I
dude,
put this
could
in-
you wait a second while I
while I
get
load this
loaded?
mag?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to do it. Do I pull this slide back?
Right.
No idea.
Or
No,
you
that's
live in Illinois and you have a 10-round mag. And you miss all those.
Oh, Illinois, what a shithole.
Or California. or
For
New York.
those of us that say it correctly, it's Illinois.
What is it?
Illinois.
Illinois? Yeah.
Ill.
Ill?
Not L.
Illinois?
Just like it's milk.
Oh, man.
Milk, not milk.
Well, I say Warsh, so
Oh.
it's game over at
I'm gonna
that point in
bang
time.
this mic into my
You're not from Missouri. Stop lying.
Oh, I definitely am.
Deport Warts out of Missouri.
Is it syrup or syrup? Syrup.
Syrup, yeah.
All right, good. We can all
Yeah,
agree
that
on
one
All
I
right,
know that
cool,
one. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we're good on that one, man.
I think it would. I think my answer. So I think that was great. I think it's a great answer. And then training with firearms to be prepared for.
I
that
think that's the
situation.
easiest. I think that's the easiest.
I think
one.
it's a great example. Yeah. I think that's fantastic. I think mine is just being confident in that decision. And sometimes you're going to make the wrong decisions. Sometimes you're going to make the right ones. The more often you make the right ones, the better you're going to be at making those quickly. So I think it's just, and this is very hard to not do, but it's to not be super indecisive. If you see a clear-cut option between two things, make a decision, stick with it.
That's good.
And maybe it doesn't seem like it's the right decision right away, but if you continue pressing on and you keep, forging fortitude if it's necessary, there you go.
Yep.
Then you might realize that it is the right decision, and then you'll gain more confidence. So then next time you'll be more confident in that decision. So I think it's building that confidence, and I think building confidence comes with practice.
Yeah.
So I think those almost go hand in hand.
I think that's really good because what you said is you basically said like, don't be indecisive. You know what I mean? So you should have the confidence to make a quick decision no matter what the outcome might be.
100%.
So I think that's good because let's say you haven't trained for like you and your lady are out on the town or whatever, and somebody comes up and tries to take your purse. What's your first instinct?
Right.
Tackle the guy, let him run off with it,
Right.
try to get a face or something like that, go to the police. What's your first instinct?
Right.
But, I mean, I don't
It
think
should be defend her.
it should be defend her 100%.
Right.
But I think if we're going to go to biological imperatives, I think especially every man, we have the instant instinct to protect.
Absolutely.
Less so with the low T stuff we talked about.
Sure.
But But I think we have the instinct to protect. So that should be your first thought.
Hold on, dude. That's
Well,
toxic masculinity.
I'm a misogynist,
Right.
a noted misogynist.
Right.
So
Clip that, guys. Clip that. He said it. He admitted it.
that's gonna be everywhere. Oh my gosh, dude! Eventually, like, 5 years in the future, they're gonna be like, well, he said it. Like, well, I did. I guess I did say it. That's true.
Yeah,
But
right.
but no, I mean, that's the first instinct should be to protect.
It should be.
Whether
Absolutely.
or not, nobody practices for getting mugged, of course. Like that's
Right.
not really a thing.
Right.
But can you sharpen skills that will help you in a mugging situation?
Can you be physically fit?
Can you be physically fit? Can you,
You know?
be proficient with firearms?
Right.
Can you be proficient in martial arts in some way?
Mhm.
Sure,
Mhm.
100%.
Right.
So I think
Right.
that's great.
Even at a basic level. You know,
Oh,
you don't have to
yeah.
be a jiu-jitsu black belt.
yeah,
But
no.
like just a basic level of hand-to-hand combat. Something like that.
100%.
You know, so I agree 100% with you. Yeah.
I think that's
guys.
great.
All right, well, guys, that is our first breaking news episode of season 3. Drink Coors.
Drink Coors.
Drink Coors,
and,
baby.
And Busch Light.
Ambush Light.
Sorry, I can't get rid of that yet.
Yeah. But guys, we talked a lot about what's going on there with Bud Light in this episode. It's a hot topic, so let us know what you think. Do you agree with us? Do you not agree with us? Did we bring something up that you didn't think about, or do you have a different idea about it? Guys, let us know. Let us know in the comments on YouTube. Let us know in the comments of our posts on Instagram. Just give us your feedback. We've gotten a lot of feedback just on the first 2 episodes of season 3 so far from a lot of new listeners, from a lot of listeners that we've had for a long time, guys. It means a lot to us, okay? I'm always sending screenshots to these guys of the feedback we get.
Dude,
They're
yeah.
doing the same to me.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever we get together, we're always like, so-and-so said this. So, like, it's awesome.
Yep.
It's awesome. So we love that. So please continue that. Please continue sharing the shows. Spotify, Apple Music, they make it super easy to share that to your Instagram stories. It helps us grow.
It's free.
It's free.
It is, guys, it is free.
It's 2 buttons.
And if you really enjoyed it, which I know a lot of you do because you talked to me about it, share it.
Please do. Seriously. That's
Just toss them the story.
Exactly.
Please.
It's gone in 24 hours if it's that big of a deal to you.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah.
It'll be gone in 24 hours. And, like somebody gives you crap, then send them to us.
Yeah.
We'll talk to them.
We'll take care of it.
Yeah. We'll handle it for you.
Guys, until next time, peace and love.
Thanks, guys.